Hello there, short friends. Welcome to part 2 of the Chris Knutson cable steel wakizashi project. This is the final video that you're going to see, at least in this project series, but not necessarily of this sword, because it's done and it's mine. This is one that I intend on keeping and using, and there's some special bits that I'd encourage you to check out in the first part. If you haven't seen it, I'll link it in the description down below. But basically, this is a Waki that I intend on hanging on to and using, and it's been bespoke and bedazzled to me, and I will share what I think is special and cool about it. There's a lot, incidentally, that I think is special and cool about it, but this is not one that I intend on selling. I didn't build it because it's of any particular monetary value, and I stuck swirly mitsudomes all over it, so it's not something that I think anyone would necessarily love the same way I do. But I digress. There's lots of cool, interesting things about it, things that I think make it special and unique, and I am eager to share them with you. So hopefully you enjoy. So part 1, I noted that I got a gift of a cable steel wakizashi from a gentleman by the name of Chris Knutson, who manufactured the cable steel Waki. At the time, it was in like a pretty rough Smith's polish, if you'd call it that, but not a final polish. I sent it off to Josiah Boomershine, who did a stone polish on it. He ground it on rocks, lots and lots and lots, to get and bring out the quality in the steel. Now, in doing that, there were some unexpected things. So when I sent the Waki over, I didn't notice any delaminations or any forging flaws at all in the sword. I was kind of surprised by that, because I think up until this point, every cable steel blade that I've ever seen has a good amount of them. This one does have a few, though, unfortunately, which were brought out by the polish, and I can make out little bits along the spine. There's a couple minor pieces up near the top. All things considered, they're really quite minor, but they do certainly add a degree of imperfection. To me, a little bit of character as well. This is something that I would see commonly in antiques, and so when I see these forging flaws, given that the pattern on the steel doesn't at all look like cable, it reminds me of an antique wakizashi in that it's got a really bold, kind of odd pattern that is atypical, certainly, of antiques. But at the same time, I would say it's its own thing, and the little delaminations almost remind me of a polished down blade. Now, I don't think that the delaminations, incidentally, are certainly not something that Josiah put in there, but I don't think they're also really going to impede usage of the sword. As I understand it, how the cables and such tie together, and the experiences that I've had using other blades that were cable, they tend to hold together in rather interesting ways. And so I have a feeling this is still going to serve me well for many years. It is my intention to use it. I haven't done that yet, so you won't see it in this video, but you may see it in future videos. But the point is that I don't expect that these little imperfections around here are going to cause the blade to snap, at least not with anything that I intend on doing with it. So anyway, I sent it off to Josiah. He did a polish, and it's absolutely beautiful. There's so much character in this sword to see. The polish that he brought out is awesome. One, along the spine, everything is really crisp and smooth. It's got a mirror polish along the spine and along this kind of top portion before the primary bevel starts. When the bevel starts, there's this kind of slightly more opaque appearance that it gives as it goes down the primary bevel. And then as it gets to the edge, there's a Seguha hamon, which I believe Josiah, I can't remember, it's been a minute, but I believe he asked me if he wanted me to zazz it up a little bit, and I said yes. As I understand it, cable doesn't show a hamon particularly well, and so I think some extra emphasis went on putting in the hamon that you see along the surface of the steel. Anyway, there's this opaque look, and then a hamon appearance or a Seguha style hamon, a straight hamon that runs along the edge. And then Josiah did a great job on the Yokote up here. It's been polished kind of a different direction, and there's a clear delineation of where the Yokote is. I believe the wakizashi, when I sent it to Josiah, had the ability to kind of be moved down, and he decided where it should go and look right, and I am very pleased with his decision on this one. And I like the kind of general shape of the blade too. This is a little bit more on the Chris's profile side, but it starts meaty and thick and then kind of tapers down a little bit towards the tip here and gets a little bit more nubby and thrusty. And so I like the overall feeling, and it has a presence in the hand. It's not it's not a particularly light sword in terms of how it feels. It feels like it'll have some authority in the cut, but given that it's still a very small sword, it's very kind of intuitive to have point control to it, or it feels very natural. Anyway, the polish on here is beautiful. He did a great job. All the surfaces are beautiful and smooth. There's no rippling in the surface of the steel apart from the little delaminations or imperfections along the surface of the steel. I can make those out, but there's no surface ripples. There's no wandering on the lines. Josiah did an excellent job in polishing this and really bringing out the character in the steel. Typically, I start with the other bits first, but I jumped right into the blade here. The surface of the blade is just, it's got this beautiful mokume pattern on it, and it's delicious. It wanders all around the blade. It's easy to see in just about any light, and I haven't actually gotten a chance to bring it out in the sunlight yet, but I'd imagine there's going to be a lot more to share in there as well. But just an absolutely excellent looking polish, something that I'm going to enjoy looking at for years to come. And I'm sure it's going to get really ugly and dirty up in this section, but at the moment it's not. It's clean and pristine and very lovely. So I'm very, very happy about that while it lasts. Anyway, that is the blade portion. It is sharp. It can cut eventually. It is my plan, anyway, to do some cutting with it. I intend on using it, but at the moment, I don't cut with wakizashi often because I don't study them. I haven't gotten to that part in Katori, and I don't have any particular rank in Toyama that would warrant that I cut with them. So I haven't gotten any particular rank to do it, and I haven't necessarily been motivated to. But now that I don't know. It's par for the course for me that the object motivates me to like rank up so I can learn to use it properly. Anyway, that's the blade. Excellent job from Josiah. Excellent job from Chris. I'm very pleased with both folks' craft in this. I really love the hata. I like the shape. It's beautiful, and Josiah did an absolutely amazing job. Incidentally, I'll link his site below. You can ping him on Facebook if you're interested. He's available there if you have a sword that's in need of zazzing. He is a very competent man at sword zazzification. Polishing, I've had him do a number of times. I've had him make fittings, and I know he can do full mounts and all that kind of stuff on swords. So if you're interested, ping him there. Anyway, the next bit I'll talk to you about is the fittings and stuff. So the fittings, the Fuchikashira, Minuki, Kurigata, Kojiri, Koiguchi, and then I can't remember what this little piece is. Anyway, this is a fitting set from Hyper Cafe that I bought some time ago, and it had swirly mitsudomes all over it, so I had to buy it, and it's been sitting in my fittings drawer looking for a project for a long time. Unfortunately, all of the projects that I've used or had opportunity to use it on were too big, and it really needs a wakizashi-sized blade to be used properly, because for a katana they were a little bit on the small side, but for a wakizashi they were really quite well fit, and that is the case here. It fits really well. It's quite nice. So those are the fittings. There's nothing particularly remarkable about them. They're cast bronze or brass with some kind of blackened detailed sections, and they're from Hyper Cafe. I've used them a number of times. They tend to be a little bit on the small side, but they are interesting and offer a lot of different styles of fittings with different moans and stuff on them if you have a particular one that speaks to you the same way swirly mitsudomes do to me. These were like a bone-shaped Minuki, but they were cut down because they wouldn't look quite right on this one, and I like that the Mystery Man in Black kind of chopped these down a little bit to make them fit and suit on here. If I look at the handle first, this is I can't remember, I always pronounce it wrong, but Jabayamaki, anyway, something like that, but it's basically a strand wrap. So what you see here is not an Ito cord that would typically be used on a sword, but a very small strand that is wrapped around, and it's done with 8 strands. So there's 8 strands kind of wrapped around, and intricate kind of knots are tied in down here. Now this isn't known to necessarily be a particularly durable style of wrap, but it's known to be very, very beautiful and hard to do. And this has since been lacquered to kind of hold it together. So it's black strand wrap and jabayamaki, and it has been lacquered so it has, for me, a pretty pretty hard feeling. It doesn't move around at all. If I push on the knots, they don't move whatsoever. It's very tight, but that's partially because it's been tied well, and the other part because it's been lacquered down. Underneath that, there is Samigawa, some white Samigawa skin. I don't see an Emperor node on here, but that'd be a little bit of a waste anyway. There's some pretty large nodules on here, though, or at least I like the overall appearance of the nodules, and they've been kind of washed off so that black lacquer has rested in between the white nodules, and it kind of gives it this gray look and really accentuates the size and appearance of the nodules, which I like. And these faces here, I think, look really, really nice too. Anyway, overall, a very handsome and very good feeling ska as well. It feels good in the hand, and I like that it gives me some options in terms of grip. I imagine I'm going to find myself holding it here quite a bit, but I can get two hands on it if I want to, and that's not something every wakizashi has. I like that here. And the fitting set in combination almost looks like a small mini katana. Like if my son wanted to take up swordsmanship and could be trusted with a sharp sword, that this would fit well and looks, it just looks like a small katana in a handachi style mount, which is pretty cool. So yeah, you can get two hands on it. That's not my intent most of the time, but certainly possible. I forgot to mention the saya. So the saya has some metal bits on it as well. Again, I forget the name of this little bit right here, but we have a koiguchi, kurigata, and kojiri down here from Hyper Cafe that match in the same set. It's kind of a gold trimmed with black Nanako recessed area, and they're brass cast fittings. There's an ishime finish on the top here, and then swirly mitsudomes have been stenciled in gloss underneath. And the cool part that's a little bit more subtle and doesn't necessarily come out super well in the light that I'm using is that towards the base of the sword, there's gold pearl, and then it fades to black towards the top, which is a little bit like how my other sword is. I have a Hanwei bamboo mat that's been zazzed up, and this is the companion daisho piece that I now have to match my bamboo mat. Now the bamboo mat is done in gloss and has pearl swirly mitsudomes in it. This is done in ishime with gloss swirly mitsudomes in it. So I think it's a great companion piece. I think it looks stunning, and frankly, I think it even looks better. The jabemaki on here, it's killer, and I really like the ishime and the little stenciled pieces in here. It's absolutely stunning looking. I really am tickled by the fact that this just looks a bit like a mini katana. It's kind of on the long side, and it has a long handle, but it looks like a boy's katana or something like that. So I can use it. It feels like a wakizashi in the hand, but I can certainly get two hands on it if I want to deliver a more authoritative cut, or if somebody smaller were using it. It looks like a small or a miniature katana. I like that more. I think that's so cool. Incidentally, there are a couple other pieces on here that I forgot to mention. The habaki was done by Chris. Mystery Man in Black kind of zazzed it up, and there are some very simple seppa on here that are at least notched out so that they don't overlap the suba. The suba is the piece I had from a Ryan sword katana that I tested to failure. And the suba was they knew I liked swirly mitsudomes, and they tried to make a suba for the sword that fit a little better with the swirly mitsudome theme, given my proclivities for them, which was smart. I really liked the suba, but it was kind of special and something that I didn't see on a lot of swords. It has a little dimension. It tapers up a little bit. It looks like it has a pattern and is patinaed well. It has some like iron, texture to it, like grain to it, which is really kind of neat looking. I'm not sure if it's steel or iron, but I digress. It's in a swirly mitsudome fitting or theme. It's got the kama cut out, and it was a suba that I thought was just really neat. And it was also a little bit on the smaller side and seemed to fit a wakizashi well, which it does here. So thematically, I think it's very cool. I'm very, very pleased with how it all came out. I'm tickled that this is something I get to use and keep and hang on to. So often I do these projects and I find a secondhand sword and I finish it, and I'm never 100% sure if it's one that I'm going to hang on to. But because Chris sent this my way as a gift, it wasn't I don't know. He said he made it for me. It felt very special to have somebody make a sword for me, and it needed to be finished up, and it cost me a little bit to get it all done up. But I knew that I was investing in something that I was going to hang on to, which is kind of a rarity for me. And in the end, the people that I work with kind of knew that it was for me. It was a wakizashi that I was going to enjoy. They zazzed it up in ways that I really enjoy and like, and I'm just tickled with the end result. So hopefully you've enjoyed seeing it. I know it'd be nice to see me cut with it, but I don't have anything to cut. I could break it out and do water bottles and stuff, but I'm hoping I can get some more tatami mats in the not too distant future, and eventually that's what I'll be cutting with it. So hopefully you'll see how well it does eventually when I get some tatami mats. Anyway, that is the project that I have. It feels nice to wrap up another project here, and it's so cool. It's such a cool sword. It's got to dry a little bit too. I can't use it too much. It's got that fresh lacquer smell to it. But overall, it's a stunning sword. That's all I got. Cheers, and thanks for watching.